The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, my name is Jillian Schaefer and I'm the Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, CADTALKS Acumatica AI Software, Live Webinar and Demo, presented by Jeff Brickler of CADTALKS. A little housekeeping before we get started. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise down. However, you can submit any questions you have throughout the webinar. To submit a question, look for the question section in your GoToWebinar. We will answer all questions at the end of the presentation. We are recording this presentation and it will be distributed tomorrow to all attendees as well as to those who registered but were not able to attend. Please take a moment after the presentation to answer our one survey question. And as a reminder, we're raffling off a $50 e-gift card during the webinar. The winner will be selected at the end of the presentation. With that said, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to attend our webinar. We're here to help get the most out of your software solutions and help you find an easier way to run your business by providing you software and industry knowledge, tools, and support whenever you need it. We've invited CADTALKS here today because they are the industry experts on Acumatica AI software. So whether you're here doing research for a new solution or you're just here to learn, we'd like to encourage you to ask any questions throughout the webinar. Lastly, as a quick reminder, SWK is constantly sharing important updates and software tips and tricks on our social media channels, so we encourage you to follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Jeff.
Okay, this is Jeff Brickler with CADTALK. Thank you for attending today to our engineering integration for Acumatica. As I mentioned, I'm Jeff Brickler. I want to thank SWK Technologies for sponsoring this webinar, allowing us to present to you our solution. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so just a little bit of an agenda. We'll first talk about introduction, talk about the CADTALK benefits. Then I'm going to go straight into a demonstration. I find that folks want to see what we're talking about. I'm going to go into that. Then I have a few slides to go into more detail with the benefits of CADTALK, namely with reduction of labor, shortening of lead time, and then talk about the BOMs important and the bill of materials important in Acumatica. And then at the end, we have time for questions and answer, and of course, that $50 raffle. So please stay to the end so that you can have a chance at that raffle. Okay, just a little bit about us at CADTALK and myself. I'm Jeff Brickler. I'm the solutions architect for CADTALK. My email is there. It's pretty simple, jeff.brickler@cadtalk.com. There's my cell phone as well. You can contact me. So a little background for me, I started on the services side for CADTALK. So over the last, say, 6 years, I spent most of my time in implementation. And then most recently, I have transitioned over to the front end. I do a lot of the solutions architecting. So I work with our prospects, I work with our customers on how to design the flow from engineering to manufacturing, right? So you can also find lots of more information on webinars and literature at our website at cadtalk.com/Acumatica. Again, so you can browse our site and get more information there. Feel free to reach out to me. CADTALK, just a little history. CADTALK was developed and is currently maintained by former manufacturing and design engineers. So the original, CADTALK was started by one person who had to enter bills of material as a manufacturing engineer, and he decided that there had to be a better way. The first idea came in the early 2000s, and we first developed CADTALK in 2006. Okay. So CADTALK was originally born out of the engineering manufacturing industry. So this is often described as we do the same thing, but a little bit different, right? So engineering to order companies. Now I would say CADTALK has expanded far beyond that. We have customers who are in the water purification market. We have companies who are even in the foods market, right? So some of our customers have make salad dressing, with another customer who makes plastics. So CADTALK has gone well beyond just simply engineering to order or heavy-duty manufacturing. It's really in any way, any type of customer or prospect who wants to integrate their engineering with their manufacturing, whether that be CAD or PLM or PDF. If you're having a situation where you're siloed, where engineering and manufacturing don't talk, that's a fit for CADTALK, and see how we can help with that. Okay, so there are three, before we get into the demo, I have three major benefits that CADTALK provides. The first and easiest to calculate, and we'll talk about that more after the demonstration, is a reduction in labor. So CADTALK provides an easy and quick, smooth transition from the engineering to manufacturing, right? How do I get the information out of engineering and to manufacturing as quickly as possible and as accurately as possible? The next is a shortening of lead time to your customers. So when you're making products, you're designing new products and then releasing them for production, we're shortening that time to get from the engineer's design to the manufacturing floor. And right, that's we'll talk about what are the benefits of shortening lead time to customers. And lastly, is BOM accuracy and consistency. And after the demo, I'll talk about how important that BOM accuracy and consistency is in terms of how Acumatica works and how much value to get the value out of Acumatica and the benefits of that MRP ERP system. That BOM is really critical, and so we'll talk more about that in detail. So now we're going to do a short demonstration so you guys can see it in action, see what CADTALK looks like, see how it works. So I'm going to transition now to SolidWorks. Now I should mention that CADTALK does work with many CAD systems. So a lot of times people will see me use SolidWorks and say, hey, do you integrate with other CAD systems? And the answer is yes. So SolidWorks and Autodesk Inventor make up probably 75 or 80% of the market. We integrate to those, of course. We also have just about every other CAD system that's popular today. Creo, that's another popular one. And so Autodesk products, AutoCAD, Revit, a whole host of CAD systems, even a lot of legacy CAD systems, and even niche CAD systems. So we have one particular customer who has a very niche CAD system for piping. They create sophisticated piping systems, and their CAD software is very, very unique to that market and only that market. And so we even have a method for extracting their data and uploading it to their ERP. So have no fear that if you have something that you don't see today, CADTALK can support it. But for the purposes of this conversation and this demonstration, I'm going to show you SolidWorks. CADTALK works the same, whether it's in SolidWorks or Inventor or Creo or other CAD systems. So you can generalize over the different systems if you're not seeing what you have today. So in the interface, right now you're seeing SolidWorks model. This is a simple propeller shaft assembly, right? It's got a shaft and a gear. It's two parts, this assembly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use CADTALK to read data out of the SolidWorks model. It has properties attached to it. Almost all engineers have custom properties in addition to the design properties that they add to their model, things like part numbers, descriptions, maybe length or width, or maybe some raw material information. Really, any data that you put on the design, CADTALK can read that data from the design, all that metadata, and utilizing that, and with our AI engine, turn that into what Acumatica needs, right? So it does more than just copy data from SolidWorks to Acumatica. CADTALK really is doing a transformation, transforming data that's in engineering, right, which is a subset or a basis upon which you build the Acumatica bill of material, right? So CADTALK can automatically add routing steps, do all those other Acumatica pieces, and I'll show that now. I'll show that in a few minutes, excuse me. CADTALK can run inside SolidWorks or inside CAD or outside. same software. It just depends upon who uses the product. So after I show this propeller shaft, I'll create everything new in Acumatica, and then I will show it to you in Acumatica. And after I finish that, I will talk about how CADTalk is configured. So CADTalk is not a custom application. You know, lots of consultants and folks out there will say they can do integration too, but they're almost always custom. CADTalk isn't a custom solution. It is an out of the box that's 100% configurable. So after I show that, how you can configure CADTalk, I'm going to load this CDO scooter. This CDO scooter is the finished good. This is the end product that you would ship out the door. Inside of that product is a subassembly. That subassembly is a propeller gear shaft. So I will be able to show the CDO scooter as the top level item with a number of subassemblies, and in among those subassemblies will be that propeller shaft. So that way you'll be able to see how CADTalk can handle creating new parts, and then how it handles existing bills of material. So how do you handle the existing parts, and then also mixed with new parts, because you're going to have situations where you have on a bill of material, you have new items to Acumatica, existing items to Acumatica that you haven't changed, and then existing items that you are making changes to through ECN, through ECO. So, and CADTalk can handle all those aspects. So I will show that. And then once we finish the demonstration, I will switch back to the slides, and we'll talk about more of, dig into deeper on the benefits about what you just saw. Okay, so I'm going to switch over to the CADTalk Standalone Host. So I'm going to log into Acumatica. CADTalk logs into Acumatica the same way you do through the screen, right? The same credentials, the same method. You can do everything from the CADTalk interface. Please note that what you're looking at is our standalone host. So this host can be used by anyone in the organization who's responsible for the bill of material. It can be used to read the data directly from the files. No necessary, CAD is not required, right? So you were able to use CADTalk without CAD. Now, if you're a design engineer and you're responsible for the bill of material in Acumatica and you want to launch CADTalk from SolidWorks, that's not a problem either. CADTalk can be embedded inside SolidWorks and be launched directly from there without any problem. So the workflow would be you release a product that you want to update or create in Acumatica. You come into this interface, you log in to Acumatica, and then you say, I want to load my SolidWorks file. You simply select Load SolidWorks File, and then you can browse to where that file is. If you have PDM, notice I have my PDM Blueberry here. I can go to my PDM and search it just like I would from a SolidWorks interface. And then from here, I can drill down and say, okay, I want to look at all the assemblies only, and I want to select a propeller gear shaft. So I'll select that propeller gear shaft assembly, select open. And then what CADTalk does is it immediately begins to process the information. It says, hey, you have configurations, please select one or many. I select the 25 tooth gear, then select OK. Well, then as soon as I do that, CADTalk begins to process the information out of SolidWorks. Remember I talked about that metadata, the part numbers, descriptions, quantities, length properties, width, any data that you put in your configuration properties or your custom properties, CADTalk accesses that, right? It has that ability to see that information. And then once it does that, it goes to Acumatica to see if that information exists. And if it doesn't, then it returns to this screen, what you're looking at now. It returns a proposed bill of material. So what you're seeing here is a in-between state. CADTalk is a middleware product, so it's not a third system where you need to maintain data. CADTalk is that communication gateway, right? It has CADTalk, it's talking between the two systems. It is live, it's a live interface, it's bidirectional. I should say it can run bidirectional or unidirectional. It can run one way, push, or back and forth, depends upon what customers want. Most customers run it in one way, but it can do both. So from here, you can see here's the proposed bill. This is what I am proposing for Acumatica. Notice everything in CADTalk is color coded so that you can see when icons are red, like you see here, that indicates that these part numbers are new. They don't exist in my Acumatica. And so when I go to save this, it will create those new items, those new stock items in Acumatica. So CADTALK works not just with the items, but the full bill of material and all the properties attached. So here, you notice I have this AB06302, right? I've pulled out automatically the propeller shaft assembly, right? And then I've assigned it an item class and a unit of measure. And then notice I have three red icons indicate all these parts are new, right? And then I have just beneath here a Work Center 100. I automatically added the Work Center 100 using our intelligence engine. And then you notice I have all these properties in Acumatica that I can use the CAD data to update, right? So if I wanted to automatically set up machine time or machine units or my run units or runtime, I could do that in two different ways, right? I could automate that through our intelligence engine, kind of like you saw me do by adding that Work Center 100, or I can even come in here and do a manual edit. So CADTALK is more than just an import tool, right? It really is an automation, an intelligent automation tool that also is a BOM editor. So it allows both a spectrum, I should say, it allows a spectrum of automation, right? So from less automation to more automation to fully automated. So with CADTALK, we have customers who run it on demand, use the interface, do everything they want to do in here, right? Automate some of it, so it's partial automation. And then I have some customers who have everything fully automated. There's no interface; it just processes the information when they release an item. So here you can see, okay, so I set the runtime in there. Remember, I have the ability. I have the ability to then review. I call this an auditing layer, a workbench for reviewing the information. If I would need to add additional information in here, I can, right? So notice all this information I have that I can update with CADTALK, right? My notes, my backflush, my bubble numbers, anything else that I want to have, I can do it here. If I wanted to add something else, like more routing steps, I could do that, right? I could right-click and insert an operation directly in here and add additional routing steps. I could also say I want to add additional materials in here. So, for example, maybe glue or paint or something. I could right-click in here and do an insert material from search, which then would allow me to search Acumatica for additional parts, additional items, right? And then I could add them directly into here. So it really gives you a workbench to combine automation, right, with some manual interaction should you need to modify the build. It's very common to have this partial automation. So from here, I'd say, okay, this is looking good. This is what I want. Once I'm ready and I'm finished reviewing, all I have to notice I have the save button. All I have to do is hit save. And then what CADTALK does is it's the same thing that a human would do in Acumatica, which is go to the screens, log in, create the stock items, right? So create each stock item that you see it here, 302, 303, 812. Create those three stock items, and then go to the bill of materials screen, and then create that bill of material, right? So CADTALK's going to do all of that in the background with that save action, right? So once this finishes, everything will come back to green, right? And then it'll be in Acumatica. So while that's finishing up, I will transition here to my Acumatica, right? So I'm going to log into my version of Acumatica, right? We are a certified Acumatica partner, right? So we have certification every new version of Acumatica, right? So from here, I would go to the bill of materials, and then I can show from here the bill of materials that CADTALK created, right? So those A-B parts, right? All right, so if I go here to the end, there it is, right? There's that propeller shaft assembly, AB06302, right? There's the propeller shaft. If I select on the 32, BOM 32, you'll see in here, hey, there's that inventory ID for the propeller shaft, right? There's the work center 100. There's that runtime of 1, right? So you see that runtime, I've automatically added the runtime. And then notice here are the propeller shaft and the gear. So I created not just the items, right? So here are the 3 items, 302, 303, and 812. Those are all new stock items with descriptions and all the other inventory master information. But also notice I've created the bill of material, right? So I got the quantities here, I got the routing step, operation 10 with work center 100. So I did all of that from CADTALK. I didn't have to come into Acumatica and do anything else. So from here, you could say I could then release this to a production order, and guys on the shop floor can begin work. Now, earlier I mentioned that CADTALK is not a custom solution, so it is configured. So CADTALK is built on this idea of a sophisticated rules engine, right? So we have the ability to build artificial intelligence based upon your process directly in this interface. So from here, you notice I have this screen, which we call for what's called transformation. So the transformation screen, and this gives me the rules that I can use for my business. So I can select this system to say, hey, what are the rules for transforming the data from CAD to Acumatica, right? So how do I determine what the description is going to be for Acumatica? Where am I going to pull that from SolidWorks? What about, how do I add operations automatically? What BOM warehouse do I go into? All of these things can be determined right here through our rules engine. So let me click on one of these, just give you kind of a high-level example. So description is a simple example that everybody would understand. CADTALK has this expression builder that allows you to create a rule, very much like Excel, to come in here and say, okay, what data do I want to use from SolidWorks to update my Acumatica description, right? So in SolidWorks, you can call your description anything. Even you call description, or you can call it anything you want. So this in here allows CADTALK to tell you what the rule is. What's the rule for pulling the information out of SolidWorks? You can do if-then logic in here. You could combine different fields from SolidWorks to generate a different description. Really, you have the capability to do whatever you want. This rule here is very simple. It says, take the data from SolidWorks description and put it in Acumatica. But I could have even more sophisticated logic that allows me to say, check if this is a new part, or check if the revision is different, right? So a lot of times customers will want to do ECNs in their CAD or PDM system. They'll do a release. They'll have a revision in Acumatica, and then CADTALK can compare the revision from CAD and Acumatica. And then if the CAD is higher than Acumatica, we can automatically do the update. So really any logic that you want that fits your business needs, right? CADTALK can do that. Also notice, I talked about adding operations. So you can write rules to add routing steps. So this is going to save you valuable time, because a lot of times someone's got to look at a drawing or has some tribal knowledge about how do we route parts to the shop. Well, CADTALK can write rules. We can write rules in the solution to tell you how to route those parts, right? I have customers who route parts based upon the raw material, right? They say, well, if in SolidWorks the raw material is plate, it goes to the laser or the plasma. If it's some kind of extruded material, if it's channel or it's piping, it goes to the saw. They also have a default material prep property, so material prep operation. So really, you can create any kind of rules that you want to add one or many routing steps to your bill of material, so that it can be absolutely ready with everything Acumatica needs for that production order when you go to create it. Okay, so I'm going to close out of here, right? Then I'm going to close this, and then remember I talked about I would load a larger bill of material. So I'm going to load this Sea-Doo scooter. So again, I would just remind you that the Sea-Doo scooter is the finished good. It has inside of it that propeller shaft, so you'll see that show up in this interface. and you'll see differing colors, right? So we have some green icons, maybe some yellow icons. You'll see the highlighting for information that's being updated as new or changed, right? So you're going to see how CADTALK works in a much larger case, right? So the C2 scooter is a fully indented BOM. It maybe has 5 or 6 sub-assemblies, maybe 40 or 50 parts. So it can really show you the power of what CADTALK can do. So the process is the same, right? You release, okay, we released the propeller shaft assembly, excuse me, you release the C2 scooter. Someone downstream can pick it up, or the designer, he or she can launch the tool from SolidWorks, select the file, and then drill down into PDM if I want, or from a directory. I want to say, give me that C scooter final. Select open. The process is going to be the same. It's going to tell me, hey, which configuration do you want? I select one that I want, select OK. And then again, CADTALK processes that information. So all the way down the tree. So every single part, every subassembly, CADTALK is getting all the information for all of these parts, all of those assemblies, all the custom properties, any metadata that's attached to that. CADTALK has that information in a big bucket or a big bag. And then we can use that information to search Acumatica and then apply any changes or show that proposed bill of material in the interface, right? So you can see in here the logs, right? So CADTALK's just, you can, if you're fast enough, you can process, see what CADTALK's doing. It runs those expressions, right? That intelligence that we talked about, we built into CADTALK. It's doing that. So once it's finished, it's going to show us in this interface. Notice it's showing a lot of red icons, very similar to what we saw before. The yellow highlighting to tell me, yellow highlighting saying, hey, this is new information that CADTALK has changed, right? So CADTALK set this description, CADTALK set this item class, CADTALK set that unit of measure, right? So but you say, well, where's that propeller shaft assembly, right? I see the work center 100, right? Well, if you look here, there is a subassembly here. And if I right click on here and I say, okay, expand that out, show me more. Notice that you drill down, look here, there's that propeller shaft assembly, right? Notice that CADTALK recognizes that propeller shaft assembly exists. And it recognizes these components exist. And they are unchanged, right? So we haven't changed these since the last time we loaded them. They exist right here. There's that work center 100. I also know if I can scroll over to the right, I can still got all this information I have. I have all my quantities. Notice that this item exists in the CAD bill of material, right? So this came from CAD, but it doesn't. This bill of material does not exist. This bill of material does not exist in Acumatica, which what I mean by that is this AB06302 doesn't exist on AB06100, and it doesn't exist because AB06100 is new, right? It doesn't exist in Acumatica. But if I select down below, you'll say, hey, this 303, it exists in Acumatica. Yeah, it exists on its parent. That 303 already is on this 302, and that 812 is also on the 302. So what this is saying is like, hey, all this information is the same as CAD. You haven't changed anything. You apply the rules. Everything's the same. You're just adding this bill of material to this new upper assemblies, right? But you'll also notice, hey, what is that red dot, right? What is that red dot here? What's that information? Well, CADTALK validates all the information in this interface before it goes to Acumatica. So whatever business rules that you have in Acumatica for your business, CADTALK, it adjusts itself once it connects to your Acumatica. It adjusts itself to those business rules. So here you see, hey, I got a validation alert, right? That validation alert says that your item number length is limited to 10 characters. So in my Acumatica, I can only have part numbers that are 10 digits long, right? That's unique to my environment. Your environment may be different, but because my environment has that rule, CADTALK marks this as a validation alert and says you cannot save until you clean this up, right? So you fix this. Now, notice my save button is enabled. Now, how do you fix that? Well, there are a couple of ways. Most people would say, oh, well, that's incorrect. Let's send that back to engineering, alert them of the issue. Hey, guys, this number AB06, 3070, that's not right. It's a PCB board. That won't work. We need to fix that part number, right? So you go back to engineering. Most people will send it back to engineering and fix it. Now, you can fix it in this interface. So you could say, like, I want to right-click it and then say, maybe I want to find the right part number because it exists already. You could say, update this material, right? You could update it here and search Acumatica for that. Or you could say, well, that doesn't belong on, it doesn't belong on here, right? Maybe it's something that shouldn't be there. You can then simply come in here and say, well, I'm going to delete that. It doesn't belong here. So I'm going to delete it. So what CADTALK does, you can right-click and delete it. Now, once I delete that part, notice that validation alert goes away, and then right there we go. Right there we have that save button is enabled. Right, so I can then save this part directly from here. Right? So just like before. I can hit the save button here, and then what CADTALK will do is it will go to Acumatica again and create all of those parts, right? So based upon those rules, it'll, but for that 302, right, the AB06302, that propeller shaft assembly that already exists, because I didn't change it, and that bill already exists in Acumatica, CADTALK's going to leave it alone. All it's going to do is after it creates the gear train assembly, right, that 310, after it creates that, it will place 302, the propeller shaft assembly, onto 310, and that's it. It won't make any changes, won't create a new bills of material. It'll just use what you have and put it right on there. So CADTALK knows not to recreate bills of material when you have ones that already exist, right? So again, you can see how it's just marching down the tree, right, and creating every single component in the bill of material, right? So from here, I'm going to go ahead and switch back. That's going to let that finish up, and I'll go back to my presentation so we can drill down into the benefits of what you just saw. Excellent. So let me go ahead and talk about, we began the presentation, we began this webinar with listing the three major benefits, right? The reduction in labor costs, the reduction in lead time, and then the BOM accuracy. So I'm going to drill down into the benefits of those. So the first is the reduction in labor costs. And what do I mean by that? To put it simply, it takes less time for you guys to do the work. It takes less time for someone to enter that information. You saw that with me, right? So we loaded 2 bills of material just in this short few minutes we've been on here. So the reduction in labor is the easiest thing to calculate in terms of benefit, right? So it's the most intuitive and easy to benefit. So you can do an ROI calculator, a value calculator that says, okay, if we have 5 engineers, and each engineer, whether it's a manufacturing engineer, spends 3 hours a week on entering bills of material. You take those 3 hours, you multiply 3 hours times 5 engineers, you get 15 hours a week, and then you multiply that by their total rate of how long it takes. In an engineering-heavy firm, engineers are some of the most valuable resources in terms of cost. So it's important that their skills be used for the highest value items, right? And so being able, entering data is not the highest value for them. Now, setting up the bills of material are critical, and those are high value, but we need something to automate that process so that they're not continuously typing, right? Cutting and pasting, or exporting to spreadsheets and doing some spreadsheet magic and then trying to import through some kind of through the screen. So the easiest thing to do is to do a simple calculation. How much time are we spending on this, and how much does it cost each person? What we find is that you see a total reduction of anywhere between 70 to 90%, right? So if you spent, let's say you spent 40 hours a week entering bills of material, like in the whole staff, the whole organization, you're gonna see that get knocked down. So instead of being 40 hours, you're gonna knock that down to 30 hours or fewer, right? So you're gonna have less. You're gonna have 10 hours or fewer. So you're gonna knock that from 40 hours down to 10 or fewer hours. So really, that you're gonna have a 30-hour savings of time. Right? What we see is that companies have the most value are those who have lots of bills of material. Right? What we see again, what we started was the high engineering activity, engineering to order. But again, like I mentioned earlier in the call, I have customers who do, who are in the food industry, the plastics, or in water filtering, really a whole host of different trailer companies, a whole host of different companies see benefit. The more the engineering, the more items and bills you have, and engineering changes, the faster the results are on the benefits, the value. The next time we talked about was shortening lead time to customers. So on the screen, you see an arrow that represents the entire lead time from the start of a sales all the way down to receiving the money from that sale, right? That's the total amount of time. So you start with the sales time, that bucket, an orange, and then down to the end where you receive payment, and the other orange on the right. CADTALK fits in here to help reduce that time. Well, how does it reduce that time? It reduces that release process from the gray here in engineering to manufacturing. Because a lot of organizations, they do the engineering, they print the drawings, they detail the drawings, and then it waits. It waits to be it waits on someone's desk, or it's in backlog before someone can enter it into the ERP. And so as a result, you can't begin the production order until the definition, right? The BOM is in Acumatica. So how do you speed that up? How do you decrease the lead time? You reduce the lead time by making the time it's spent in engineering and the time it's spent in the manufacturing process shorter. So CADTALK does that by speeding up that time. So it makes the manufacturing process run better because the bill is more accurate. It speeds up the engineering time because it's not waiting on someone's desk to be entered. So that time gets shrunk by 80%, and then you see all the benefits, shortening lead time to your customer. So what's the benefit of that, right? What's the benefit of lead time to customers? All I have to say these days is Amazon Prime, right? Everybody wants to get their thing now, right? I want to order it, and 2 days later I want to have it at my door. So shortening lead time is critical. People, that's how people have come to see everything. In their consumer goods, in their business goods, everybody wants something as soon as possible. So to do that, you have to be able to go from the order to shipping that order, and manufacturing as fast as you can. So those lead time reductions gives you those benefits, right? Gives you that competitive edge, right? So now in a market that's really, really fierce, right? And then you can have a competitive advantage when you can deliver faster consistently. It's not enough just to compete on price, right? Because someone's always going to have a better price. But one of the benefits you can show is like, hey, we can reduce this lead time. We can deliver this product to you much faster than our competition, right? Higher quality because we have more accurate bills of material, better costing, better value, and more quickly. So that's how you're going to get that the benefit of that shortening lead time. So it's about that premium pricing that you can get. So you're not always trying to lower the price, or some competitor is trying to lower the price and drive you down. You have this ability to deliver faster, more on time, to deliver faster and get that a bit of a premium pricing. You don't have to always in that price war. So I do have a reference, right? So about Companies that focus on the lead time see that lead time reduction, also see an overall reduction in production costs. So more so than just me saying this, we have this reference to quick response manufacturing talks about the benefits of lead time reduction, and when you have a heavily engineered product. And these days, almost every product out there is heavily engineered and complicated. My wife just bought a hybrid, and I used to work on cars, and now I look under that thing and go, that's well beyond my capabilities. So we only live in a more engineered world. Okay, another third benefit is BOM accuracy. And you think, okay, well, you know, the accuracy of the BOM is important, right? We want to have it important, but how important is it? What we don't realize is the BOM, it is the driving force behind Acumatica. If you're in a manufacturing firm, right? Everything is based upon the bill of material. So, and this image illustrates that idea. So the bill of material is the biggest gear. Everything is driven from that bill of material, from that product definition, right? So your purchasing is driven from that, because you got to know, do we need to get long lead time parts? Do we need to order more raw materials, right? What kinds of things do we need? And the better you have, the better accuracy on the BOM, the more likely you're to get the parts, get the items that you need in the shop when you need them. Scheduling, right? How are you going to schedule jobs to go through the shop, right? If you don't know what the run times are, how long is this particular assembly or this part going to sit at a work center? How long is it going to take to do those run times? How do I know how long it's going to take to get to the shop? I want to be able to schedule things. The more accurate the BOM I have, the easier it is to schedule. Same thing with planning, right? How do I know when I'm going to deliver? Right? All of that is driven from the BOM. Quality, think, well, how's the quality? Well, think about what happens if you have an incorrect BOM on the bill of material, or you have an engineering change, and that engineering change didn't get updated in Acumatica in time, and so they had the incorrect BOM. That's going to affect the quality. They have to rework something. They have to scrap something. Or let's say that you promised to deliver a product at a certain time, and you now are delayed because of inaccuracy in the BOM. Well, what's that going to do to the quality? You got to rush that job now. So are you going to have to make adjustments in the quality in order to deliver it on time, right? As I mentioned, the manufacturing, the confusion on the shop floor, right? Incorrect BOM, not understanding, the job order doesn't coincide with the drawing, or, not having that information and the confusion that causes. So the BOM really affects every aspect of Acumatica. Okay. So last, talking about what is BOM and consistency and accuracy. Talk about product definitions, right, are the basis of all those modules we talked about. Kind of mentioned this last time. So all those aspects of Acumatica, the MRP, the whole ERP, work better when the BOM is correct. When the product definition is accurate and consistent, the better it is. And how do you improve your accuracy and consistency? Well, you do that with automation, right? You make a huge investment in ERP so you can get better costing, you can get better processes. Well, if your bill of material isn't accurate, right, and you're making mistakes on there, then the value of the ERP goes down, because now you can't schedule, you can't plan, right? You can't get effective costing. So again, just like you saw in that previous image, CADTALK helps improve the consistency and accuracy, which affects all aspects of the BOM, or all aspects of the business. So purchasing, manufacturing, planning, scheduling, quality, all of that. So then talk about, okay, great. So but you maybe say, I do a great job with CAD. I can do a great job. I don't need CADTALK. I don't really need, I do a great job entering bills, and it's not that big a deal. The thing is that what's different about humans and computers is that humans can be very precise, right? They can do a great job on the precision. Humans can, there's a difference between precision and accuracy, right? So humans can do something really well, like can hit it, like on my picture of a target, they can hit an area, right? Be very accurate on a target. But in terms of consistencies, humans aren't always 100% consistent, right? We're humans. One day we do great. Next day, we didn't sleep as well. We had an argument with our spouse, or our kids were annoying. So we have challenges every day. So we don't always aren't consistent. But CADTALK and automation is consistent, right? So it's better. You may be more accurate in terms of on your best day, but CADTALK is consistent. So being consistently wrong or not as right is better than being inconsistently right. And the reason that is because even if you don't have the rules of intelligence perfect, once you have a consistent process, you can then figure out where it's going wrong. You can fix those things. It's very difficult to fix inconsistencies. One day it's like just your car. You drive your car. One day it's making a weird noise. You take it to the mechanic, and it doesn't make that noise anymore. The mechanic can't fix it. So it's very difficult to fix inconsistencies. But consistencies, right, are much easier to fix and to find out. So consistent data. That's that last point. Consistent data that is slightly inaccurate can still be useful for directional improvement. So what I mean by that is, even if the data isn't as accurate as you'd like, right? Because it's consistent, you can refine it, you can tweak it, you can find where the problem is. It's very difficult or impossible to find something that's intermittent, that on one day does one thing and another day does another. It's very difficult to find. Anybody who works in manufacturing, or even on anything mechanical, or even humans, right? Go to the doctor, same thing. Something that's consistent, that just consistently happens, you can fix that. Okay, so what does software provide? Software provides automation that are consistent, right? They provide precision. We can hit the same spot over and over and over and over again, like in my image. People can be accurate but inconsistent, like I talked about. Like on your good days, right? You're kind of, if you're Archer and my image, you can kind of hit around the bullseye. You're much more accurate. The problem is you can't do that the same place every day, day in and day out, for months and years at a time. But you take the people's skills, right, which is getting that accurate, and then getting the precision right with the computer, the consistency. Now we're hitting that bullseye consistently over and over again. That gets the value up. Okay, so now is a great time for Q&A, and then of course our $50 raffle. I really appreciate you guys for attending. Thanks so much. We have about 10 minutes left for questions and answers, so feel free to let them go.
Thank you, Jeff. We'll now open it up for questions. If you have any questions, please enter them into the questions section of GoToWebinar. And just to remind everyone, we do have a subject matter expert here. This is a great opportunity to have your questions answered in real time. And while we're waiting for questions to come in, we'll hold the raffle. I'm going to use a random number generator, so give me 1 minute. And the winner is Greg Wilson from Secre. Congratulations. We'll reach out to you with your $50 e-gift card after the webinar. And we did have a few questions.
Congratulations.
Yes. And we did have a few questions come in during the presentation, Jeff. The first being, what other CAD systems do you support?
Good question. So we support all the Autodesk products. We support Creo, so PTC Creo. We support NX, let's see, Solid Edge, really a whole host of them. So if you have a specific one that you're using, feel free to put that in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer yes or no if we support that.
And we have another. How much time does implementation take?
Oh, good question. So we have a standard implementation plan that takes about 40 hours to implement CADTALK. So that 40 hours is not all one set. Most customers do it over several weeks, back and forth, kind of in an iterative process. It's the easiest way to think about it is it's similar to how an ERP process would be, but on a much smaller scale. So 40 hours, usually over a number of weeks, is what it takes.
And we have one more. How do you handle engineering changes?
Oh, good question. So Most engineers have a process that they're following already in PDM or their own process. And so as long as you're putting that information in the model or in PDM, and as far as revision numbers or revision letters, we're able to use that metadata with our intelligence engine to make decisions about when to update Acumatica and how to do that in terms of adding new parts, removing old parts. So all of that can be configured directly in the interface.
Perfect, and that looks like all the questions we have, Jeff, so give me 1 minute as I take back screen control. Perfect. Thank you so much, Jeff, for your informative presentation and for taking the time to be here today. And thank you everyone for attending our webinar. Have a wonderful rest of your day.